So we noticed that as soon as we got in game and had to remake that. But we're in the game now, guys. So let's go. Take 2. We have NaNiwa versus Squirtle. Let's get into the game.
Spawning up in the top left position, we have got the blue Protoss player from Alliance. It's NaNiwa. And his opponent down in the bottom left, the red Protoss player from LGIM. It's Squirtle. Now Jorisar, I would think that most people looking at this group would see Squirtle in there.
Yep.
I think you could put Squirtle in pretty much any group and people would go favourite.
I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say. Squirtle, he's a very talented player. Of course, I would say quite recently, compared to a lot of other moves, moved to LGIM, and he's been showing some very good results. He's definitely still up there. I'm not sure we'd necessarily classify Squirtle as, oh yeah, best Protoss in the world or anything like that. But the fact is, he is up there with the best of him. He is dicing it week in, week out with players like Rain, players like Parting, trying to vie for those kind of top spots. So you're right, any group that Squirtle goes into in DreamHack, there is that kind of expectation almost that he does quite well for himself and probably make it out of the group.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye out for what these two are doing. And that's what's really important, because early game pressure can be so potent. PvP is not as volatile as it was in Wings of Liberty. I think that's much is fair because of the Mothership core allowing you to get Photon Overcharge. You can try and take a Nexus a little bit sooner. Stargate openings, as I said, creating the lobby, can be very effective on Belgier. You've got a nice little entrance into the main if you want to. But then again, PvP, there's so many viable openings that scouting is going to be relatively important. And as we saw previous game, we got Blink up against DT and NaNiwa held, which usually is going to be a really tough situation. So I wouldn't want to put my money on anything.
NaNiwa is going to try and be very, very annoying. Sorry, Squirtle with this probe again, but NaNiwa able to successfully fend it off. No more shields on that probe. He will have to go back. And in the meantime, we can see 2 gateways going down for Squirtle right now. And he is mining with all 6 workers off of his gases in the main base. In the meantime, so is NaNiwa. Only the 1 gateway for him over here so far, though. And Squirtle is going to be going for his Mothership core.
Now, getting this Mothership core out nice and quick is something which a lot of Protoss players are starting to do, because it gives you the ability to start banking up energy, getting those Photon Overcharges if you need them to defend against early pressure. You can also, like we saw in Game 1, use them to go and poke and prod the opponent's mineral line and essentially get scouting information. The Mothership core for NaNiwa in the first game, without doubt, allowed him to win.
Yeah,
and the reason
sure.
I know that's a bold statement to make, but it's because he scouted out the Dark Shrine. Until he scouted that, no sign of a robotics facility, no sign of any detection, spotted it immediately, started his sentry. Otherwise, DTs would have gone in his main, and it could have lost it for him. But
that's true, yeah. The Mothership core played a very, very important role in scouting there. And it looks like they're going to be crossing each other like ships in the night here, as both players opting to go via the left-hand side of the map to the opponent's base for a little bit of early Mothership core harass. In the meantime, NaNiwa being very diligent with his probe scouting, wanting to check out everything that's going on in the center of the map. Squirtle is opting to go via the center with a Stalker, while NaNiwa continues to scout for any forward pylons. And here come the Mothership cores. They will see each other now, and NaNiwa knows this is incoming.
Now, a little bit of stats on this. This series was quite heavily favoured to Squirtle, if you look at it statistically, from their results and their various achievements and match histories. Update that though to give NaNiwa the first game, and suddenly he becomes a massive favourite to take this series. This could be really interesting to see how it goes.
Well, 1 game up in a best of 3, always a great place to be, as Squirtle goes and puts down his Stargate behind his mineral line. If we take a quick look, the robotics facility is up now for NaNiwa as well. He's playing this substantially more defensively than Squirtle at the moment. Squirtle's the one who's really trying to be aggressive so far in this game. Let's see if those tables happen to switch anytime soon, because NaNiwa does have that forward pylon now, and he has a couple of Stalkers just going to be scouting out what's going on around the map here.
Both players are sitting back for the moment, but as you said, double Stargate coming down. This is going to be really... Well, it should be a lot of Phoenix. That's what it should be coming out of here. A lot of harassment potential, and a double Stargate is quite uncommon. Usually you see a single one, that's quite normal, but no, all Stalker just getting away. Now the Sentry's going to take some damage here. Sentry goes down there for Squirtle, not what he would have wanted. And his army actually getting, well, I say his army, his 2 units getting quite far out of position.
Yeah, just a little bit. It looks like the Mothership Core might be able to catch up with them, but will any damage get done? Oh, force fields to prevent that Stalker going out, and very, very nicely done there from NaNiwa, who picks off a couple of early game units to go ahead in that unit's loss tab.
So, these Phoenix are now starting to hit the field. They're going to be able to come and do some nice damage here for Squirtle. And, I mean, look at the opening from NaNiwa. He's just now getting up his own first and second Stargate, and that's so heavily delayed compared to that of Squirtle. Squirtle has got so much air dominance now that NaNiwa, he's got to play this so carefully and not lose too many probes or really too much aggression from what Squirtle's going to be throwing at him.
And here we go, the Phoenix is coming out across the map here. What will they be able to accomplish? NaNiwa sees them now inside the main base, and probes being lifted and dispatched with very quickly indeed. We have, even a Stalker getting picked off here. That's going to be expensive for NaNiwa. And Squirtle really using the element of surprise here to get as much damage done as he physically can. NaNiwa looking like he's moving out across the map, going to maybe try and go for a counterattack. And Squirtle sees the Mothership Core. Is he going to go for it? Yes, he is, but the Stalkers are there, and he needs to be very, very careful with this.
Now remember though, NaNiwa, he's pushing out quite a long way. He's leaving his base exposed. More Phoenix are being added into his composition. Taking out that Mothership Core would be great. No more time warps, no mass recall. 2 things that Squirtle doesn't want him to have. Oh, the Mothership Core is getting
abandoned a bit.
It's going to be really tough, and it is going to go down. And only for 1 Phoenix too. That was a really nice trade there for Squirtle.
Oh, and he picks off a Sentry as well. That's going to be very, very huge, because NaNiwa is desperately trying to put on some aggression with this army right now, and Squirtle is just keeping NaNiwa effectively away from his main base. Now, if we take a quick look at how many gateways we have out on the field right now, still only 2 warp gates each, really, but with Photon Overcharge as well, it's going to be so hard for NaNiwa to come in here. The army supply is slightly larger for NaNiwa, and bear in mind the ground army is substantially smaller for Squirtle, considering the supply are built up in these Phoenixes here. But I'm not sure this is enough to actually break in here, because we have got both an Immortal and a Void Ray. I think Squirtle might just be comfortable.
Yeah, he's got that Immortal, he's got that Void Ray, but he's also got the Phoenix, which if he brings them back, he can lift up 6 Stalkers straight away of NaNiwa, and that it probably cuts down to about a quarter of the standing army that NaNiwa has pushing in. Add in that Void Ray, add in that Immortal, soon to be the second Immortal, and actually Squirtle isn't going to have... This could actually be a really close fight, and NaNiwa has to be careful not to overcommit, because he doesn't have that Mothership Core for a mass recall if required.
And, needs to be a little bit careful there, but there is no Observer, so he can't actually attack those Phoenixes over the high ground there. NaNiwa, Blink is almost done. He's actually waiting for that to complete before he pushes in here, just under 10 in-game seconds. Bear in mind there are 2 Immortals here, so we're going to have to see some great lifting from the Phoenixes and some great focus fire from NaNiwa if he's able to put this apart. And here we go, NaNiwa going straight in. We do have the Photon Overcharge going in on the Nexus. Some of the Stalkers are being blinked back. We don't actually see the Phoenixes come into play just yet, interestingly enough. So it looks like Squirtle is going to be able to hold relatively comfortably for the time being.
He's got to be so careful though, because he did try to run those Phoenix in at first, but they were in front of the force fields, and therefore the Stalkers just started tearing them apart. The Immortals were also zoned out using force fields by NaNiwa, but he only has 1 Sentry with no energy left on it, so he cannot do that trick again. The Immortal count getting higher, NaNiwa starting to push forward, some lifts going down, there's the Sentry, gets sniped off. Nice little pick off there for the LGIM player.
I think 4 Immortals might be a little bit much here. Squirtle looking like he should be able to hold 100 supply versus 89 from NaNiwa now, and Squirtle actually going to be the one to try and move out a little bit. The Phoenix is actually lifting, and one of those Stalkers getting down. We've also got the forward power being taken out as well now, and Squirtle is looking like he has successfully repelled this attack. The Phoenix is going to be heading back towards NaNiwa's base to see if they can do any more harassment damage. In the meantime, behind this though, NaNiwa's going for his Templar Archives, whereas Squirtle is going to be going the route of Colossus.
This again it's looking good for Squirtle, because he's getting a couple of probe pickoffs. He's really pushed back a massive aggressive force from NaNiwa. How many probes has NaNiwa lost this game so far?
Well, they're approximately even on worker supply at the moment, but if we take a look at the number of workers killed, Squirtle has killed 10.
Now, that is actually quite a decent amount straight away. It's not game-breaking, but it just means that economically they're in a very good similar standpoint. But Squirtle is ahead by a little bit of supply, only 3, so not huge, but look at the number of Immortals he's got out. That is actually a really scary force that NaNiwa will not want to engage head up with, because he can't even blink aggressively forward and try and snipe off the Immortals, because there's just too many of them.
Yeah, there's just, I mean, 5 Immortals is just such a serious amount of firepower that these Blink Stalkers, they have to go in and kill them so quickly. Otherwise, they just get completely decimated. And I'm just not sure there's enough DPS from NaNiwa to be able to do that right now. He's going to be moving in towards his third base location, but the Immortals are already standing there from Squirtle. NaNiwa's going to go in anyway now. I'm not sure this is a great idea. Guardian Shield going up. The Immortals are ready to attack. NaNiwa's just, he's looking very aggressive, but I'm just not sure it's enough. A couple of Force Fields going, and look how quickly those Stalkers lose their hit points.
Well, it's just a Stalker killing army there. Immortals, Void Ray, it's really nice and all at the same time. Squirtle is still just taking his Phoenix over the other side of the map, going for a nice little bit of harassment, trying to pick off any probes where he can, and he also has got a great read on exactly what NaNiwa is doing. Anything that comes down, anything that is constructed, all the units, the army composition, the army moves out. And that just gives Squirtle confidence.
He's, well, NaNiwa's going to be going to a possibly more Archon Zealot-centric compositions. We saw those are the units he seems to be pulling up at home right now. Squirtle is going to be going for that extended thermal lance. That's going to complete momentarily in time with the second cluster, and I wonder if this is going to trigger an aggressive move from out into the center of the map. The one thing I do really want to say NaNiwa's doing fantastically well this game is really keeping Squirtle occupied with defending. Squirtle has kind of been a bit nervous to go in with his ground force out into the center of the map simply because he knows NaNiwa is out and about constantly poking and prodding. So NaNiwa hasn't had to do too much defending aside from the really annoying Phoenixes that have been flying about.
And those Phoenixes have managed to kill off 14 probes, but the Colossi count for Squirtle is going to be a long way ahead of that of NaNiwa. Because NaNiwa still doesn't actually have his robotics bay done, and well, Squirtle's producing 2 at a time. So
yeah, the double robo is going to be very powerful for Squirtle here. I mean, the Phoenixes are just keeping NaNiwa on his toes. 2 of them can't really do too much at the moment, but he is going to see that NaNiwa has taken his army and he's actually gone back home with it, and this might give Squirtle the opportunity and the confidence that he needs to move out across the map, because this is looking like a very scary death ball.
It is, it's just such a hard-hitting army, and that's going to be really difficult for NaNiwa to try and piece it apart, especially when he's so far behind on the Colossi count. But NaNiwa has a decent number of Archons, and that's something the Squirtle doesn't have at the moment, so the Void Rays, or the Void Ray, is not going to be effective against that. The Immortals obviously aren't that great against Archons either, so when you look at all those things, Squirtle is ahead, but I still wouldn't call this, it's nowhere near GG.
No,
NaNiwa can definitely bring this back and level out this game.
And Squirtle spying that NaNiwa actually has another forward pilot going down on the right-hand side. We have a couple of Stalkers ninjaing their way into the third base to try and kill off some probes here. And look at this, he's actually forcing the army of Squirtle to come back to deal with this right now. So, generally very well played there from NaNiwa, just constantly being as annoying as possible to his opponent, trying to delay this inevitable push, simply because the army composition is so scary from Squirtle. He currently leads 175, 177 now to 161 supply from NaNiwa, and the worker cap is slightly ahead for NaNiwa right now, but both of them above 60.
Now, charge coming down for Squirtle 2. This is getting ultra late game now, and that means that lasers are going to rule. It's that simple.
That's true, man. It's all about the lasers.
There will be, or there should be, a big engagement at some time soon, and who's going to win that? It's going to come a lot down to army positioning. How many of those Colossi for Squirtle are actually effectively engaging this force? NaNiwa, I mean, talking from an economical standpoint, NaNiwa's ahead by 5 probes, which may not be a huge number, but in a mirror matchup, every worker really does count. Their supplies are incredibly close. They're both nearing maxed out upgrades. I believe that they are take a look at the upgrades tabs quickly. We've got, 2-0 for NaNiwa against 1-0 for Squirtle. That's another little advantage that could really help him in any big fights.
But the big question, yeah, you're right, the big question is really, though, the positioning of these Colossi, because it is 9 Colossi versus 4 at the moment, Metals, and then NaNiwa does have the Archons that are going to be competing against the Immortals. So that's going to be very interesting. 2 completely different army compositions here on paper might be duking it out in the middle of the map soon. But you're right, we need to get those upgrades going, to be perfectly honest, for Squirtle. And NaNiwa is actually nearing +3 right now.
Now we do have a handful of Stalkers getting caught out of position here for NaNiwa. Great time warps going down from Squirtle. He really wants to knock this out because these are free units for him at the moment. He wants to keep that up, but look at the bank. NaNiwa got a lot of minerals in the bank, whereas Squirtle, not quite so much. The gas is relatively equal. The Colossi count, though, it's getting stupidly high. And it actually gets to the point where positioning is going to be the key thing. How many of those Colossi are engaging simultaneously? NaNiwa is not going to be getting that 4th Nexus down.
That's a big point, actually. I think
That is.
Squirtle's getting his fourth out, NaNiwa isn't, and that is arguably the beginning of what could tip a balance in this game. We have Zealots going into both the natural and the main base, trying to distract him while we have a massive engagement going on at the third. And look at this concave by the Colossi. Look at how much damage Squirtle is channeling in to a single location. And even though those Zealots are getting a lot of surface area on them right now, I think this concave is going to be enough for Squirtle. His supply is dropping, but NaNiwa is getting close to going under 100.
And in the main base as well, there's a Zealot warping just coming down, or just a chunk of Zealots in there. They are just doing a nice little chunk of damage. A good number of the Colossi did survive actually there for Squirtle too. NaNiwa has only got those Colossus and a Mothership Core even trying to take one down. That is one hardcore.
That's a Mothership Core going with a wooden spoon, like completely spanking those Colossi, but a couple of Stalkers will be able to take it out as it stays a little bit forgotten. This poor Pylon, if this gets taken out, that's going to be really frustrating for NaNiwa as well. But these Zealots at the moment aren't really being microed. Squirtle thinking about coming back, and he's now up to 153 supply versus the 121 for NaNiwa. The Colossus count, by the way, has evened out quite a bit here. It's actually 8 versus 5 in favor of NaNiwa right now. But the Zealots are doing the damage. They finally get cleaned up, but so much disruption has gone on in NaNiwa's base. And don't forget, all this time, Squirtle has started mining from his fort, and this gas in particular is going to be so important.
That gas is what's going to be allowing Squirtle to get out those really high-tech units, make sure that he gets himself in a good spot, but also the additional income, because NaNiwa is only mining off of 2 bases now. His main is empty. This fourth was forced to cancel at that same pushing that Squirtle moved up towards the third. In terms of income, there's a decent-ish advantage to Squirtle at the moment. And if he keeps that up, the game keeps going on longer. Once he gets the +3 weapons done, that's when the upgrades get in his advantage, especially with the +1 armor coming down, because currently NaNiwa is just 3-0.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job at the moment, to be perfectly honest. NaNiwa hanging into this game, but needs to think of one or two things. Either how to secure his fourth, or how to try and deny the fourth base of Squirtle. These things can definitely swing. If NaNiwa somehow manages to do both, then the game instantly swings in his favor, for example, for any follow-up attack. But first, it looks like Squirtle wants to try and force an engagement here. I'm not 100% sure he can do it at the moment. He's at 189 supply versus 163, and he has got his Colossus count back up to 9, but NaNiwa will have the defender's advantage. He will be able to get a nice arc off if Squirtle decides to come up this round.
Now, I think it's fair to say NaNiwa has defended quite well so far. That push-in was pretty terrifying for him. But Squirtle hasn't actually got to put on too much pressure at the moment. As long as he doesn't allow this fourth base to come down for NaNiwa, he's got an additional mining base. And all while he's got that, he's building up a bank ready for the resupply, because when these two armies engage, it won't, well, unless someone has incredibly bad and the other incredibly good positioning, it won't be a completely one-sided fight. There will be a relatively even trade and mutual destruction. The resupply is what's going to be essential.
Oh, and this is actually really tricky as well, because both sides are continuing to make Colossus, but I'd like to point out that Tempest could potentially be a useful addition here. I don't think we see a fleet beacon on the map for either player so far. No. But it would definitely be interesting to be able to snipe up those Colossi from afar. You mentioned Grubby's done something similar to that before. And once again, Squirtle running in with a bunch of Zealots into the main base. Now, there's not too much to disrupt other than a single assimilator right now, so let's see if he ends up targeting pylons or maybe going for the Nexus there. But we have another engagement over here at the third base, and both sides with a decent concave. NaNiwa actually getting the better concave there. If Squirtle decides to push it, we'll have to wait and see. NaNiwa is actually going to be the one pushing in here. I'm not sure he wants to do that right now. He needs to be very, very careful with these warping and Zealots. Does pick off a couple extra Colossi, but that said, he's down to 116 supply versus the 142 from Squirtle, and these Zealots are still doing damage here. NaNiwa's multitasking is getting really, really stretched this game by Squirtle.
Squirtle is still ahead in supply though. He is trying to retreat. He can't afford to lose these Colossi because that could be disastrous for him, but Squirtle does still have a bank. So
that time warp.
That time warp. Ultra good.
And all of a sudden, NaNiwa looking very, very good with this army pushing forward. Squirtle does manage to take out a decent number of Colossi, by the way, but percentages-wise, this could be trouble for him right now because he only has 2 Colossi out to the 7. Zealot's still continuing to hack away. I think NaNiwa needs to win with this push almost because a lot of his infrastructure is getting very, very quickly destroyed here. But there are 2 Colossi probes and more Archons on the way here. Squirtle going to try and make a big stand. The probes can probably go back now because they're getting a little bit too far ahead from the army, and Squirtle back up to 120 supply versus the 101 from NaNiwa. He's going to try and hold at the top of this round.
NaNiwa, if he pushes in here, he's got to try and win the game. game. He's lost so much of his production, as you said, back at home to that Zealot run by. But just look at the number of Colossi he has compared to that of Squirtle. He's moving and he's going to try and knock out the robotic facilities.
Oh, that's
good.
huge.
Good target firing. If he keeps this Colossi advantage, it is going to be so difficult. NaNiwa even pulling probes from the other side of the map. He knows that he's got to end this game now, and that's what he's going to try and do. Squirtle, he's moving the Archons in, but this position for the Colossi, really quite nice actually, because he can retreat back down onto the low ground.
It's very, very good, and Squirtle is just non-stop warping in units on the high ground. I think he wants to try and pincer this army when possible. Here comes Zealots and Stalkers from the right. Here come the Colossi and the Archons from the left. NaNiwa reinforcing with Zealots from the low ground. He's repositioning his Colossi beautifully here, but Squirtle with the gateway units is trying to force NaNiwa to move back with this robotics-based army. Is he going to be able to do it? Squirtle at 101 supply, NaNiwa at 80. It looks like he's been pushed back from the natural expansion right now, and what NaNiwa doesn't want to give Squirtle is room to breathe. Look at this. The entire main base, guys, is pristine. Make sure you clean up your barbecues after you go and have one. Leave it as you found it, and that's exactly what Squirtle is aiming to do. Now going into the natural as well. NaNiwa's a very scary army, but how is he going to push in?
Dress up. Squirtle getting some Void Rays out. If he's able to get those, there is very few Stalkers on the field.
Okay.
This is massive. Okay, if Squirtle can hold and get those down, he's fine. But look at his money. He's only got enough gas to get those 2 Void Rays. There will be no more. So this is going to come down to probably this next fight. We do have a little train of blue coming over, but it's going to come down to those Void Rays. The Void Rays, if they stay up, can annihilate these Colossi very quickly. One's going to fall straight away there. Prismatic alignment has been triggered. Anti-air for NaNiwa at the moment. Well, he's got those 2 Archons, and I think, I don't think he's even got any Stalkers.
This is a very, very tense situation. Squirtle definitely with the advantage here. Those 2 Void Rays are going to play a huge role in this upcoming engagement, and his bases are being destroyed. Bear in mind, all this time, I really want to highlight the linchpin of this position from Squirtle has been that income. If we take a look at the income tab at the moment, he is constantly better than NaNiwa, but NaNiwa's army is very, very scary right now. Can he hold on?
Well, he's slowly trying to push in, but that additional mining base, as you said, Joasa, is making such a difference. It also helps that Squirtle does still have production facilities. NaNiwa has about 2 gateways, that's all he can make out of. So he can't even spend the money, the little money that he's getting, but these Colossi are just sitting there very tentatively. 3 Archons up against 5 now Void Rays.
He's trying to buy time for a couple more Void Rays. That's exactly what he needs to do in this mission, but the Archons coming and trying to pick off the Void Rays. One of them is very, very close to death, but 5 Void Rays are now out, and it looks like Squirtle is going to be pushing forward. He's going to try and pick down the Archons, because if these Archons go down, that's going to be game over, and he can't do it. GG! And Squirtle wins a ridiculously tense game number 2, 32 minutes long.